Featuring an unhinged grab bag of post-apocalyptic entities, from eldritch horrors to cyberpunk monstrosities to Mad Maxy desert raiders, Sci-Fi 4X title ZEPHON is an interesting if unfocused take on the genre that, despite some faults here and there, is still pretty hard to put down.
Shooting!
After choosing from the 8 faction leaders, each of whom has their own light narrative arc, you'll sit through a brief introductory cutscene and then get down to business, that business being killing, and business is good. ZEPHON is arguably the most combat-heavy 4X title I have ever played, and a majority of every turn will be spent dealing with rival faction units and mutants. ZEPHON's pain in the ass equivalent to Civilization's barbarians.
You're never gonna catch me!
As you might expect from a tactical 4X, ZEPHON rewards clever positioning of units and punishes overextension. Hellish enemies of all sort lurk just beyond the fog of war, and stumbling into their line of sight will subject you to a surprise attack. In addition to that, make note of the possible buffs and debuffs that each terrain type puts on your units, preferably before you move into it. This is all doubly true when sieging cities, as they hit a lot harder than I'm used to seeing in other 4Xs. But bringing them down is possible, especially if you build and then level up commander class units, each of which has powerful active and passive abilities.
Take down.
What do you need? Dosing chat window.
While ZEPHON certainly places most of its emphasis on the exterminate in 4X, make no mistake, your other ugly X's are here too. Each faction features a slight iteration of the same in-depth 10-tier research tree that you'll need to carefully prioritize if you're to keep up with your enemies and be prepared for endgame, which kicks in at turn 100 and consists of a delightfully over-the-top outpouring of overpowered enemies. But I'm getting ahead of myself. As for early game, I found research rushing to engineers, the unit that builds new cities, to be an essential strategy, that is, assuming your faction allows you to build more than one city. As A, cities are very powerful, and B, the AI seemed keen on quickly expanding its territory regardless of difficulty level. It did not, however, seem keen on scooping up the many resources and outposts scattered about the land, so keep an eye out for those during your exploration of the multi-biome map. And it wouldn't be a 4X if you couldn't exploit the AI's overeagerness to ally with you, even as you amass a massive and not at all suspicious army directly adjacent their capital. The other key non-combat component in ZEPHON is base building and resource management. Each city hex bestows a multiplier for certain resource types, so you'll want to prioritize particular buildings in particular places. Though please do learn from my stupidity, most hexes can support 2 or even 3 buildings, not the one I thought for, we're not even going to say how long. And if ever you run out of something, there's a store you can use to buy or sell both resources and items for your commander class units. Now, in defense of my dumbness, ZEPHON's 5-minute text-based tutorial, if you can even call it that, is laughably unhelpful. So if you've never played a 4X before, buyer beware. And even if you have, ZEPHON is launching at 40 USD, which strikes me as high. Don't get me wrong, what's here is cool, especially stylistically. The game's lighting, color palette, particle effects, and creative unit designs help ZEPHON stand out, and combined with its soundtrack full of didgeridoo and rumbling percussion to create a unique and atmospheric 4X experience. Still, I felt like I more or less got ZEPHON after the first 10 or so hours, which I wasn't able to say about Civ or Stellaris for the first 100. But while it isn't as mechanically deep as our mini 4Xs, there's still plenty of room for replayability here, if only to complete each faction leader's quest and unlock in-game achievement modifiers that can transform the gameplay experience. All this in mind, I can easily recommend ZEPHON to fans of the genre who have an overlapping interest in tactical combat. I'm giving the game an aggregate megascore of 3.08 out of 5, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the game or my review. Until next time, this is Scope, and thanks for watching.